A scientist pieces together dead tissue, infuses it with a spark of life, and then immediately flees. This single choice, to create a conscious being and then abandon it, sets off a cycle of violence that forces us to ask which character actually earns the title of monster. To find out, we have to bypass the green-skinned, bolt-necked zombies of modern movies and return to Mary Shelley's original 1818 text. The story opens in the freezing Arctic. Captain Robert Walton is leading a perilous naval expedition when his ship becomes locked in the ice. Out on the frozen wasteland, his crew discovers an emaciated, nearly frozen man, Victor Frankenstein. Victor recounts his life to the captain, describing a privileged childhood in Geneva that slowly warped into an intense, feverish obsession with anatomy. He spent his nights in charnel houses and vaults, determined to uncover the cause of generation and life. On a dreary November night, his work culminates. But the creature that opens its dull yellow eye is not a lumbering brute. Shelley describes a being with superhuman agility, flowing black hair, and pearly white teeth, which contrast sharply with thin, yellow, translucent skin. Staring at the reality of his work, Victor is overcome by breathless horror. Because the creature's appearance is terrifying to him, Victor flees his laboratory and disappears into the night, leaving his newborn creation entirely alone. In this moment, Victor treats a conscious, sensing life as a disposable error. He brings a being into the world that requires guidance and protection, then leaves it to navigate a hostile environment without a single word of instruction. This act of neglect leaves a shivering infant to face a world that will judge it solely by its exterior, lighting the fuse for a chain reaction of tragedy. Thrust into the wilderness, the creature is terrified and helpless. Yet he possesses an innate intelligence and deep emotional sensitivity. He eventually finds refuge in a hovel attached to a small cottage. Hidden away, he spends months observing the impoverished de Lacy family. Listening to them read, he teaches himself language, history, and the concept of human empathy. He demonstrates a naturally benevolent disposition. Seeing that the family struggles with poverty, he stops stealing their food and begins secretly chopping their winter firewood under the cover of night to ease their burden. Desperate for fellowship, he steps out of the shadows to introduce himself to the family's blind patriarch. But when the younger family members return, they react with blind terror and violently beat him with a stick, driving him from the only home he has ever known. This diagram illustrates the creature's psychological shift, starting at innate benevolence. But every time he reaches out, even saving a drowning girl, he's rewarded with violence. Repeated societal cruelty intercepts his good intentions, converting his outlook into a hellish rage. This rage finds a target when he encounters Victor's young brother, William, in the woods. Upon learning the boy is a Frankenstein, the creature strangles the child to inflict pain on the creator who abandoned him. He then takes a locket from the dead boy and hides it in the dress of a sleeping servant, Justine. He calculates that because he is denied the smiles of women, she must pay the price, and she is eventually executed for his crime. Society's superficiality manufactured the creature's pain, but his decision to murder a child and frame an innocent woman marks a transition. He is now utilizing the same cruelty that broke him, choosing to become an architect of desolation. The creature tracks Victor to the Alps and presents an ultimatum: create a female companion as deformed as himself so he can finally experience sympathy. If Victor refuses, the creature vows to desolate Victor's heart until he curses the hour of his birth. Victor initially consents and travels to the extreme isolation of the Orkney Islands. In a small shack among these stone ruins, he begins assembling a second frame. But as the work nears completion, Victor begins to fear the female might reject the creature's pact. While the monster watches through the window, Victor is seized by a sudden horror and tears the unfinished female to pieces. The creature responds to this broken promise with immediate violence. He murders Victor's closest friend, Henry Clerval, leaving Victor to discover the body and face the resulting criminal charges. The vendetta reaches its climax after Victor returns to Geneva to marry Elizabeth. True to his threat to be with Victor on his wedding night, the creature slips into the inn and strangles the bride, leaving her lifeless on her bridal bier. By refusing his creation a single tether to empathy, Victor ensures they are both permanently severed from humanity, locked into an inescapable cycle of mutual destruction. With his family destroyed, Victor dedicates his remaining days to hunting the creature. He is led toward the pole by the monster's own trail, taunting messages and prints left deep in the snow that ensure the chase never ends. Plotting privilege against isolation, Victor begins with wealth and love, while the creature begins in absolute poverty. But through a cycle of trauma, their trajectories converge. Stripped of humanity, they merge into the exact same state, obsessed, destructive, and utterly alone. Their journey ends aboard Walton's ship. Victor, physically exhausted by the pursuit, finally dies. Even in his last moments, he remains unrepentant, urging the captain to thrust a sword into the monster's heart. That night, the creature boards the ship to find Victor's corpse, but there is no triumph in his voice. He expresses a bitter remorse, realizing that his heart was fashioned for love and that his path of hatred has brought him only self-abhorrence. Declaring his life's purpose complete, the creature vows to travel to the northernmost extremity of the globe. There he will build a funeral pyre and consume his frame to ashes so that no record of his existence remains. The tragedy of Frankenstein isn't found in the science, but in a being taught by cruelty to see himself as a monster. It leaves us with a lingering question: who bears greater responsibility, the creation who committed the crimes, or the creator who abandoned him?